Welcome to the Festival of Storytellers. I thank everybody that's involved with this process because we know writers need readers and writers need publishers.
Experience is not about the publisher, it is about us, the authors.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session of the Festival of Storytellers. I am author Ebony Wallace, and my book is Even Birds Get Tired of Flying. So we're going to get right into it today. I want to say hello, give you guys a chance to kind of come on into the booth, into the live session. If you have not done so already, I am going to ask that you guys go ahead and register at the festivalofstorytellers.com so that you can join in our booths and you will not only see authors like myself, but many, many other authors. Okay, so let's hop right into it. Again, I'm Ebony Wallace, and my topic for today is focus and intentionality. Focus and intentionality. So my book is Even Birds Get Tired of Flying, Walk Until You're Able to Fly Again. And one of the concepts I discuss in this is the concept of when you are in a season of transition and you are making moves to change things in your life, you need focus and intentionality. So one of the things that I used to kind of illustrate this was the life of an ant. If you ever study the life of ants, they're quite fascinating. They can carry multiple times their weight. They are constantly planning ahead, and they never stop working to eat. They never stop working to eat, survive, or stay relevant in their context. Consider the wisdom of an ant. They're in constant preparation of what's to come next. Ants are high functioning, hardworking, focused, and intentional. So, as an ant, we understand that in order for them to build the spaces and places around them, they carry a lot of burdens. They carry a lot of weight. They may sometimes get tired, but they are hardworking because they're always planning for the next season. They're always saving up bread for the next season. Hey, Walter, I've been doing great. Thank you for stopping by my booth today. I'm at a different time. I'm out of town, but I was not going to miss this with you guys. So we're talking about ants today. Hi, Bob, how are you? Focus and intentionality are very interesting topics. Absolutely. So we're going to look at it illustrated through the life of an ant today. Okay. So when we talk about ants, they are constantly working. Okay. They're hardworking, they're building, and they're saving for the coming months. So there's a passage in Proverbs, the 6th chapter, the 6th through the 8th verse, and I want to read it to you because it goes perfectly with what we're talking about today with focus and intentionality. It says, "Go to the ant, you sluggards, and consider her ways, and be wise, which having no chief overseer or ruler provides her bread in the summer and gathers her food for the harvest. So it's saying, listen, the ant don't have anybody telling them what to do. Not a supervisor, not a parent, not a job, not anyone. But this ant, look at their ways. They're wise. Why? Because they're taking bread for the summer. They're getting food for the harvest. And so what focus and intentionality does is it makes us look past where we are so that we can prepare for what's coming. John just said ants never bother anything else. They keep trudging through. Come on. What is the book called? The Ultimate Guide to Keeping It Moving. Absolutely. They just keep pushing through. I've seen ants in my backyard carrying pieces of bread that was twice their size because they just keep plugging through. So when we're looking at where we are today, we want like an ant, okay? Because where we are, we want to make sure that we're putting something back for tomorrow. We want to be wise like that ant. We want to make sure that we're taking a piece of what we're harvesting today so we can have something for later. We want to count up the costs. We want to be wise. We don't want to spend everything. You know, this is that common sense teaching your grandfather used to give you, was like, don't spend everything. Hey, Naomi, don't spend everything. What I want you to do is put something up for later. And that is what focus and intentionality does. What it does is it takes away some of today so that I can put it away for tomorrow. It makes me take, okay, well, I got this, but I'm not going to use all of this right now because I want to save something for a rainy day. Common sense teaching from grandma and grandpa. They knew about the focus and intentionality of an ant. When someone or something is intentional, they know exactly where they're going. That means that your vision first has to be fixed. If I'm going to be intentional, I have to be focused on something. I have to have a fixed vision. So I don't care if it's something as yeah. Yes, yeah, Alvin, I got a brick wall because I'm out of town today and I'm in a hotel room. So it's a really cool background. So it's a brick wall, but I'm here with y'all. Yeah, so I do have a brick wall. So thanks for that. But when we talk about this focus and intentionality of the ant, what I want us to think about is when we're intentional about something, that means that we are not haphazard about it. We are not procrastinating about it, and we're not putting it off for tomorrow, what we can do today. If I say that by the end of 2024, I want to lose weight, then that means that I'm putting steps and parameters in place to get me to that space. If I say that by the end of the first quarter of this year, I want to have more clients, that means that I'm going to do more marketing, more engagement, more things to bring those clients in. When you're intentional, you do more than just saying something. It's more than just having faith that something is going to happen. It's the works behind the faith. Because a lot of times we have good ideas. We have all kind of things that make sense, but if we don't put the work behind it, like the ant, remember the focus and intentionality of the ant. We want to consider the ant's ways because the ant is wise. The ant has nobody overseeing it, but it has bread for the summer and it gathers food for the harvest. It's constantly planning ahead. So my question for you today is, how are you planning ahead? Yes, you're saying, okay, I may want to be a writer. How are you planning for that? How are you planning to be a writer? Okay, so you may have a manuscript. Have you looked into publishing? Do you want to self-publish? Do you want to go with a publishing? Have you Googled it? Have you researched it? Have you talked to other authors? Your first step is you're here today, which is amazing because you get to hear from all of us. But when you're intentional, it means that what you're learning from all of these author booths, you're not just letting them sit there. You're going to do something about them because you're going to have a level of diligence. Okay. So when we talk about this focus, when somebody is focused, that means they're laser. We just got a comment earlier said ants just keep trudging through. I'll never forget, I saw that ant and it had this piece of bread and it was bigger than the ant's body. But the ant was like, you know what? I'm going to get this bread where it got to go. Like, I know that it's a burden. However, if I have the vision to see it, then I need to have the burden to carry it out. I want to say that again, guys. If you have the vision to see something, the vision is not enough. You have to have the burden to carry it out. So if you want to start a school, that's a vision. Do you have the burden to carry it out? If you want to have a family, babies are cute, but do you have the burden to carry them out, because they're going to stop being babies and they're going to grow up? You may have the vision for a home. That's nice, but do you have the burden to keep it up, pay for the maintenance, and do the bills? So this is where focus and intentionality comes in on the back end of the vision of what we see. Now we have to put things into place and put things into work. We have to be focused about it. So when things come against us that are seemingly bigger than us, like the ant, right? When those things come against us, we're able to continue trudging through, like we heard earlier in our booth. Okay, so I want to talk to you. Hi, guys. You got to be like a train, know where you're going, and focus on that. Joyce, absolutely right. You have to be like a train. I love it. Because one thing about a train, once a kid gets running, there's no stopping it. A train will run over anything in its path. That's a great example. You have to be able to say, I'm sticking to it. You know what? I'm sticking to it. I'm sticking to it. I'm sticking to it. Why? Because that's how you're going to get to where you have to go to. So if we want to move from walking to flying, walking to running, we have to be focused and we have to be intentional. Focus means I have my vision fixed. Intentionality means I'm putting something behind that vision in order to facilitate it. Okay. So now let's talk about the ant. The ant has all kind of pressures. He's small. He don't really got no venom like a snake. Like he don't really have a lot of like things to fight back with. Like he's more of like prey than predator. However, how does he continually survive? How do these ants continually survive? They survive under pressure. So that's where I want to land us next, y'all. In this life, like the ant, when we're focused and intentional, you're going to learn how to survive under pressure. Pressure's not going nowhere, y'all. It's not going nowhere. 3 things in this life you're going to always have: pressure, trouble, and problems. They coming. You know they're coming. But when you're focused and intentional, they won't knock you off your square. They won't knock you off from where you're trying to go. Okay. If you know you have class a certain day, the rain shouldn't stop you from getting there. If you have work a certain day and there's an accident, you're not going to turn around and go home. You're going to continue and be intentional about getting to work, even if you have to get there late. You may have to call your boss and say, listen, I'm going to be a little bit late, but I'm on my way, because I'm going to continue to press through. And just like we are focused and intentional about getting to our jobs, we want to do that same thing about getting to our goals and our dreams and the things that we want to change in our life. We just can't leave them on the shelf with hope and faith and nothing behind it. Faith without works is dead. We have to put that intentionality behind it. So I want to talk about this pressure place, okay? So I got my brick wall behind me. A brick wall is what we call something that's insurmountable, right? Like it takes a lot of strength to knock down a brick wall. You need a hammer. You need some type of equipment. You need some diligence to knock down a brick wall. So for those of you that feel like you're up against a brick wall, just like you see me today, if you feel like you're up against a brick wall, you got to be intentional. Sophie just said you got to focus, but got no intentionality. You don't know what you're doing it for. But if you get intentionality but no focus, you need both. Come on, Sophie. Get you some snaps. Absolutely. You need them both, because if you know where you're going, but you don't know what you're doing it for, you're not going to have enough motivation to push you through. That's where we talk about your why, right? People say, okay, you want this job, but what's your why? What's going to keep you here when things get hard? Okay, so you want this, but what's going to keep you in it when things get hard? So yeah, you can have focus, but do you have the intentionality behind it? Or you can have a strong work ethic, but if you're not focused, I know y'all met people like that. They got a strong work ethic, but they here, they there, they everywhere. They not focused. You know, like somebody pull them over here, they pull them over there. They're not focused. They're not focused on where they're going to be in 3 years. So they're everywhere. And it's like things aren't connecting. You got to have them both. You need the vision to focus, but you need the intentionality behind it to work what you're focusing on. And you can't be all intentional working hard and don't have a vision for something. Oh, Jeff, that's so kind. Courage and spirit, may it be bestowed upon to you. May it be bestowed upon you. Let's talk about this pressure of this brick wall. Thank y'all for chiming in. Y'all make these boosts really exciting for me. For those of you under pressure, I want you to be intentional. I want you to finish and complete what's on your plate. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just finish. Just show up. Just get it done. Now, this was very hard for me because, you know, I told y'all before that I am an admitted recovering perfectionist. Just wanted to get things done, wanted to get them done first, wanted to get them done quickly and efficiently. And it was very hard for me if things were not perfect. I would ball my paper up. I didn't want to turn it in to the teacher. I would struggle through if things weren't right. I wouldn't quite go on. If everything wasn't in place, I'm like, oh no, I can't present that because it's not the best foot forward. But one thing I had to learn about, yeah, I was focused, but my perfectionism that I was struggling with, it was causing me not to launch into things because they weren't fully completed or fully done. I knew that I would be okay in them, but it wasn't, and other people loved it, but I was picking it apart. I had to grow through that space to realize, okay, it doesn't have to be perfect, but I do have to get it done. I remember in my doctoral journey when I was going back and forth between topics of what I wanted to pick and choose, and I was back and forth because all of them made sense to me. And I had a professor, and he said something very profound. He said, Wallace, I want you to understand this. He said, you want to know what's the best dissertation you can write? A done dissertation. It shifted me, y'all. He said, you want to know what's the best one you can write? One that's done. So what he was shifting me into was focus and intentionality. Yeah, all of these things are great topics, but pick one. All of them are great. Pick one. So I'm going to tell you one today like that professor told me. You want to know how you can get to this? Get it done. It doesn't have to be perfect. Get it done. Timothy just chimed in. Sometimes our strongest enemy is ourselves, and you don't even have to defeat yourself. You just got to accept some things and let it go. Absolutely, Timothy. Sometimes you just have to accept some things, let it go, and keep it moving. Like, I make mistakes all the time, y'all. I'll make mistakes on here, and I'll be like, okay, I'm going to keep it moving. I remember when our job switched to all virtual a few years back. I would come on, and I'm excited, and I'm talking to everybody, and you know what? So embarrassing, guys. It would be on mute. So, like, 5 minutes would go by, and I'm saying amazing stuff, and it would be on mute. And you know what I would do? I would persevere. I would say, okay, guys, we're all learning this together. We're going to unmute, and I'm going to rewind and run it back, because you know what? And people admired the authenticity, because I could have shriveled up. I could have went in the corner. I could have said, I can't do this. I could have said, I'm so embarrassed. But I said, you know what? It's a learning experience. Next time I know to click unmute, because I said some great things that you guys didn't hear. So using our mistakes to propel us will help us beat down this brick wall. The second thing I want us to talk about is when we're under pressure, be intentional and defy the urge to quit. Y'all can write that in the chat. Defy the urge to quit before you collect your reward. Now, that's a good one. I'm coming straight from the book. Defy the urge to quit before you collect your reward. Many times we get right to the gate and don't get on the plane. So I got on a plane today to head to Alabama. I'm in Alabama right now. And like, it takes so much, you know, you got to go through TSA, you got to go through all this, you go through scanning. And wouldn't that be a shame that you caught the Uber to get to the airport, you go through all the gates, you go to all the stands, and then you get at the gate and you're like, oh, I'm not going to get on. I'm just going to go back home. And your ticket is paid for. Guys, do not quit when you're at the gate. Do not quit until you can collect your reward. Naomi just said ants are model workers. Yes, they are, because they are intentional and they are focused. So for those of you who have your back up against a wall, a good is a done one. Yes, best ideas in the world. But if you don't finish it, come on, Kimberly. That's a great topic. You can have the best ideas in the world, but if you don't finish it, it's nothing. And you know what, like, even inspired me to write a book? Like, my friend's 8-year-old wrote a book. and the kid totally wrote a book. And I'm like, Eb, what are you doing? An 8-year-old totally wrote a book. I had all these great ideas, but I couldn't bring them into fruition. And I said, you know what? It doesn't have to be perfect, and it doesn't have to look like anybody else's. I just got to do it, because I can have great ideas, but if I don't execute, it amounts to nothing. We always talk about failure. Failing to plan is planning to fail. But I would like to add onto that, if you're always planning, you have all of this knowledge, but applied knowledge is where you get execution. Okay, stuff, you got to apply it. So you got to pull the trigger. You have to pull the trigger at some point, whether it's perfect or not. If you know you want to start doing lives, just get on there with your family and friends. You don't have to start off with 30 minutes or hours. Start off with 5 minutes and just speak your heart. And I promise you, when you take steps in the direction towards, things will start to open up for you. So the third thing to do when you're under pressure and you want to be intentional, jump back in. That's what I have here. Jump back in. That setback was temporary. Nothing is wasted. Guys, that statement got me through about 6 months of some of the hardest times of my life, because I was questioning God. I was questioning myself. I was questioning my decision making. I was like, you're too smart to be in this place. How did you end up here? You know, I'm here. We talked about it the other day, the enemy self versus the warrior self, right? And I had to jump back in and realize that nothing was wasted. And when I realized that nothing was wasted, then I knew that I didn't waste my time. Because a lot of times we can look back on failed situations and we be like, I wasted my time doing that. I went to school, got this degree, and don't even use it. You know, I spent all that time being friends with this person. We're not even friends anymore. You know, like, I spent all this time in this relationship, nothing came out of it. Or I spent all that time at the job and I never got the promotion. They gave it to someone who came in behind me. And what I want you to know is, if you want to be intentional and you want to break down these brick walls and these barriers, jump back in. Nothing is wasted, because like we said yesterday, you are starting from experience, not scratch. So you're wiser, and the wiser you are, the better you'll be able to maneuver the mountaintop. You never want to get to the mountaintop without the process, because if you get there without the process, you're not going to be able to keep your seat and have peace in the seat, because you've skipped steps. Elizabeth just says, lots of plans also mean lots of chances to fail. Absolutely. Absolutely. I was told recently by a coach, Ebony, I know you got plan A through Z. Get rid of them all. Go down to one plan. If you only have one plan, then that's the one you work on. You put your focus and intentionality in that one plan, and you will be more productive than spreading it out over 26 plans. Get one plan and focus on it. The ant gets that big old piece of bread, and he's like, I got to get this back to the colony. I got to get this back. He's not letting nothing stop him. Humans walking by, dogs walking by, water in the way. He's got one job. I love it. The ant has one job. And he's focused and intentional about doing that one job well. And he repeats the cycle every day. He repeats the cycle every day. And like we said in that verse earlier, he has no ruler, no chief, no overseer. No one is over him, but he's wise, because he has bread for the summer and gathers food for harvest. Okay? He's a gatherer. What are we gathering right now? What do we have a lot of that we can take and invest it in something else so that it comes back in a greater way for us? Another one, if you're under pressure, what do you need to be intentional with? Pressure will cause you to produce. I love this, y'all. Pressure will cause you to produce. Don't run from pressure. You can write that in the chat. Write that in your notes. Don't run from pressure. This is the warrior year. This is the year that you mount up. Don't run from pressure. Don't run from pressure, because that's when your dendrites are going to grow. That is when your courage is going to grow. Don't run from pressure, because pressure produces a change. When you change your confession, you'll be able to keep your focus. You'll be able to keep your focus. Oh, thanks, Jeff. Hope to see you tomorrow. I appreciate that. Pressure will cause you to produce. So, a few years ago, there was a song and it was saying pressure bust pipes. You know, that's like a little thing we like to say, pressure bust pipes, pressure bust pipes. But pressure also causes you to produce, because when you have pressure on you, you begin to think of new and innovative ways to get things done. This is why when people see countdowns, it puts them in a scurry to kind of prompt them to keep moving. Don't run from pressure. Be focused, have a plan, and execute it. Some of your greatest ideas will come when you're under pressure. But if you're always running from it, if you're always running from the challenge, if you're always running from the pressure, if you're always running from the opposition, if you're always running from everything, you'll never get to mastery. Okay? So we have people who are not proficient, then we get to proficiency, and then we get to mastery. The people who become masters, we read in Gladwell's book, The Outliers, he said, you need 10,000 hours. You need 10,000 hours in a thing. You did 1,000 and you're ready to quit. No. Keep the pressure there. It's just like when you're weight training. Bob just said it's a good idea to make the deadlines and stick to them. Absolutely. Every week, try to have a deadline and stick to it, and watch your focus and intentionality shift. Watch it. Even if it's something as simple as I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m. before my day starts, and I'm going to read an excerpt out of my favorite book. Or I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m. and I'm going to do push-ups in my room. But having that focus and intentionality, setting something and consistently meeting it, even as things arise against you, that pressure is going to cause you to produce. And it's going to cause you to produce a greater self that has a level of growth that you have never seen before. So we're coming down to our last few minutes of our author booth for today. So this is where I'll take questions. If you guys have any questions, you can send them to me. I'll just stop what I'm doing in the middle to talk to you. But that was our lesson today on focus and intentionality. So if you have any questions at this time, if you want to go ahead and drop them, you can, because our time is about up in author booth today. Okay, so I got JP. I agree with that. Pressure could be used to move you forward and execute instead of an obstacle stopping you. Absolutely. Pressure moves you forward. As a woman, I have 2 children, JP, right? And, as when you're pregnant, your body's growing, the baby's growing, and it's causing all kind of pressure. But there's something that happens when the pressure of the contraction comes. That's not like when I'm 6 months pregnant. When the contraction comes, which is a hard push, right? The doctors is like, okay, the contractions are here. I need you to push with the pressure. Push with the pressure because the baby is coming. And so, JP, I want you to remember that. Push with the pressure because now is the time that the pressure is going to help you to produce the child. Okay, Timothy says, how do we learn to focus in our everyday lives? Any advice? Focus in your everyday lives. Remember that nothing is wasted. Remember that to set small goals and reach them, because success begets success, but failure begets failure. Okay, Timothy, I want you to remember that. Success begets success, but failure begets failure. So set small goals that you can do, that you can be focused on, even if it's something as simple as I'm going to do a puzzle. Even if it's something as simple as I'm going to walk to the mailbox to get a little bit of fresh air and not stay in, okay? So that is my final question for today. How do I learn to focus? In small steps. Okay, small steps, you focus on one thing and you get it done. So we are winding down, and I thank you for joining me in my today's author booth. If you want to grab the book, remember, look down below and you'll see information on how to get it on Amazon. And I want you guys to meet me back here next time for Ebony Wallace, author of Even Birds Get Tired of Flying. See you tomorrow, guys. Have a great day.